James Shapiro, A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare, 1599. Dive into the dramatic world of 1599, a pivotal year for William Shakespeare and the London theatre scene in A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare, 1599, by James Shapiro. As Shakespeare solidifies his reputation as a masterful dramatist, you'll explore the wider implications of political chaos, religious tensions, and cultural shifts that shaped his plays. The rise of Shakespeare parallels the growth of London's theatre culture, where two major playing companies and their playhouses captivated thousands of spectators. Discover how the construction of the Globe, Shakespeare's permanent theatre, impacted his writing and contributed to his enduring legacy.
The thriving theatre scene. London's vibrant theatre scene in the 1590s drew widespread popularity, attracting ambitious playwrights like the young William Shakespeare. Two dominant playing companies, the Lord Chamberlain's Men and the Admiral's Men, performed to thousands of eager spectators regularly, with roughly a third of the city's population attending plays monthly. Theatre locations, known for their unsavory reputations, led authorities to view them as dangerous breeding grounds for vice. Although aldermen attempted to shut down playhouses in 1597, the patronage of upper-class audiences saved them from closure. The death of many renowned dramatists in the late 1590s left a void to be filled. At the cusp of rising playwrights like Ben Jonson, Shakespeare emerged as the finest dramatist by 1599, bridging both generations and leaving his mark on theatre history. Shakespeare's theatrical investment. London's playhouses were business ventures as much as cultural icons during Shakespeare's time. His company, the Lord Chamberlain's Men, found themselves in need of a permanent home and took the risky decision to fund the construction of their own theatre, the Globe. Shakespeare, along with four fellow actor shareholders, contributed a significant amount towards building the Globe, which ultimately brought them future profits and secured their place in the middle class. The renowned theatre's location in Bankside became a part of the Bard's plays, as in Twelfth Night, where the area was mentioned by a character. Shakespeare aimed to celebrate the Globe's opening by writing a new play inspired by contemporary events. In 1599, London saw a surge of investors looking to profit from the public's passion for theatre. As new theatres like the Fortune and the Boar's Head popped up in the suburbs, Shakespeare's acting troupe, the Lord Chamberlain's Men, realized their survival in this increasingly competitive landscape relied on securing a permanent playhouse. Unlike conventional funding methods, where wealthy businessmen financed construction in exchange for the majority of the profits, the Globe's construction costs were split between Shakespeare, for actor shareholders, and two innovative brothers, Richard and Cuthbert Burbage. Contributing £70 each, an impressive amount at the time, Shakespeare and his fellow shareholders took a gamble, hoping their investment would pay off in future proceeds. If successful, each of the theatre's stakeholders would gain a 10% share in the Globe's profits, potentially earning an impressive £100 annually, an amount sufficient to elevate them to the middle class. Built with a timber frame and a thatched roof surrounding a circular stage, the Globe was located in the bustling Bankside neighborhood, outside the city's southern limits. Notably, this lively area often found its way into Shakespeare's plays, such as Twelfth Night, which referenced a contemporary Bankside inn that was formerly a brothel. Eager to inaugurate the Globe in July, Shakespeare sought inspiration from the events of the time to create a new play that would mark the grand opening. Collision of Empires. The 1530s marked the beginning of England's shift from Catholicism, fueled by Henry VIII's desire to annul his current marriage and defy the Pope's authority. This led to the eventual establishment of the Church of England, with the king as its head. Elizabeth I later continued this conversion to Protestantism with the introduction of Protestant theology. This put Elizabeth at odds with Catholic Habsburg Spain, as Spain's king, Philip II, believed he needed to defend Catholicism. As the tensions grew between England and Spain, proxy wars became direct conflict, ultimately escalating into the Spanish Armada's attempt to invade England in 1588. Though defeated by England's nimble navy in poor weather conditions that year, threats of invasion persisted, making the power struggle between their empires an ongoing concern for both Elizabeth and Spain's successor, King Philip III. Religious controversy enveloped England in the 16th century as the nation started to drift away from the Catholic Church. At the heart of this change was King Henry VIII, who, against the Pope's wishes, sought to annul his marriage and choose another wife. This act defied the authority of the Pope and led many to question the English king's religious legitimacy. In response, a series of legislative acts were passed in the 1530s, effectively making Henry the supreme leader of the Church of England, thus setting the stage for the English Reformation. As England continued its journey towards Protestantism, Elizabeth I took the helm and pressed on with the English Revolution. Inspired by the works of Protestant reformers like Luther and Calvin, she crafted a new theology that would eventually draw her into conflict with Habsburg Spain, Europe's most influential Catholic power. Spain's king, the devout Philip II, felt a personal responsibility for the protection of Catholicism, and he viewed Protestant rulers like Elizabeth as direct threats. Indeed, Elizabeth's support for Protestant revolutionaries in the Spanish-controlled Netherlands proved Philip's beliefs to be well-founded. The two rulers traded blows, backing rebels in each other's territories, with Elizabeth lending support to insurgents in the Netherlands and Philip aiding Irish Catholic rebels. The conflicts escalated and eventually resulted in an outright confrontation between the two superpowers. In 1588, Philip launched the Spanish Armada, a massive invasion force consisting of 130 ships with the intention of dethroning Elizabeth and re-establishing Catholicism in England. However, despite the enormous might of the Spanish fleet, it suffered defeat at the hands of the smaller, swifter English navy in turbulent weather. While Elizabeth successfully managed to repel this invasion, threats from Spain loomed large as the conflicts continued into the reign of King Philip III, ensuring a constant power struggle between the two empires. Shakespeare's reflections of panic. In the summer of 1599, when Shakespeare's Globe Theatre opened, England was gripped by fear. Defeats in Ireland and an anticipated Spanish invasion had the populace on edge. Just as Brutus in Julius Caesar complained of insufficient funds for his legions, England's treasury was low with murmurs of soldiers' potential mutiny. Despite this tense atmosphere, London's theatres, including the Globe, offered much-needed diversion for anxious locals. The repertoires, such as Shakespeare's Henry V and the grisly Alarum for London, echoed the prevailing mood, and this anxiety would later reverberate in other plays like Othello and Hamlet. Thus, Shakespeare captured the essence of the fearful times his audience lived in, reflecting the somber and watchful mood that pervaded London. As tension mounted over military losses in Ireland and the Netherlands, coupled with a dwindling treasury, England's capital was in turmoil in 1599. This widespread apprehension was successfully mirrored in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, as Brutus criticized Cassius for not providing enough funds, a sentiment familiar to the English audience grappling with their own soldiers' rumored plans to rebel over unpaid wages and scarce provisions. During this time, the threat of another Spanish armada loomed large. By mid-July, there were claims of a formidable fleet preparing for departure in Andalusia, causing Queen Elizabeth to amass her remaining forces for defense. The Thames left London exposed, making the sudden influx of soldiers a welcome sight. Faced with uncertainty and apprehension, the populace sought solace in the escapism provided by the city's playhouses. Though Shakespeare's activities during these troubled months remain uncertain, it is plausible that the Globe thrived amidst the collective anxiety. The Chamberlain's Men, Shakespeare's company, performed plays that resonated with the prevailing sentiment of trepidation. Alongside his own Henry V depicting English military triumph, Alarum for London conveyed chilling scenes of the Spanish invasion of Antwerp in 1576, evoking fear among the audience as they contemplated their own city's impending doom. Although the Spanish invasion never occurred, the pervasive panic left an indelible mark on Shakespeare. In Othello, the opening scene features generals exchanging reports of conflicting enemy fleet sizes, reflecting the ambivalence faced by Londoners back then. Similarly, in Hamlet, soldiers anxiously guard against unseen threats as they question the necessity of their vigilance, a somber mood that echoed the uncertainty Londoners experienced during that summer. Ultimately, Shakespeare's works served as a lens through which he captured not only the imagination of his audience, but also the very real fears and anxieties that permeated the society he lived in. These echoes of looming danger continue to give his plays a captivating sense of relatability, transcending time and experience. Unraveling Julius Caesar's intent. Julius Caesar, written and staged at the inception of the Globe Theatre, delves into political concerns resonating with Elizabethan audiences rather than ancient Roman history. A primary theme of the play revolves around the assassination of Julius Caesar, investigated through moral and political lenses. It conveys the complexities of republicanism and the inevitable fallout from political violence, becoming both timely and cautionary for its viewers. Shakespeare's Julius Caesar captivates audiences with its twist on a historically pivotal moment, the assassination that unfolds early in the play. This event, carried out by Brutus and Cassius, former allies of Julius Caesar, sets the stage for the play's exploration of political violence, its implications, and the intricate moral dilemma involved. In the backdrop of ancient Rome, Shakespeare's characters construct a persuasive moral argument for the assassination. They portray Julius Caesar as becoming increasingly erratic and tyrannical, which, if unchecked, would lead Rome to ruin. They rationalize that when a ruler oversteps their bounds or jeopardizes the state's welfare, it may warrant their overthrow. Consequently, this outlook posits that subjects only owe loyalty to virtuous rulers, absolving them of any allegiance to failing ones. This perspective correlates with republicanism, a political ideology born in ancient Greece and Rome. It was later embraced and radicalized by factions in Elizabethan England, eventually becoming a crucial factor in the English Civil War in the 1660s. Echoes of Shakespeare's Brutus and Cassius can be discerned in the Republicans' justification for the execution of an English king. Although Republican radicals did not pose a significant threat to Elizabethan England, it was Catholic assassins that haunted the realm. After the excommunication of Queen Elizabeth, Catholics began to actively plot her assassination, with the Pope's blessing. Attacks ensued, even involving a distant relative of Shakespeare. Rather than supporting a particular faction or condemning one outright, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar offers a nuanced, universal commentary on the human condition. It illustrates how virtuous acts can have unintended consequences, often ushering in the very chaos that they sought to prevent. Brutus and Cassius, for example, aspired to be sacrificers, but not butchers. Yet, the results of their actions ran counter to their intentions. Drawing attention to this paradox, Julius Caesar imparts a timely, thought-provoking lesson: political violence often begets unforeseen repercussions, a crucial insight for Shakespeare's audience, and a lesson that remains relevant to this day. Shakespeare, bard and businessman. The Reformation impacted not only the world stage but also local towns in England, and Stratford, Shakespeare's birthplace, was no exception. While the town underwent significant religious and political changes, Shakespeare navigated his personal life, balancing his role as a renowned playwright with being a shrewd businessman. He was known to make calculated investments and accrue wealth, such as purchasing a large house and profiting from his acquisitions in times of shortage. Shakespeare's multidimensional life offers insight into the context of the time and his legacy beyond the stage. Elizabethan England saw dramatic shifts in religious belief and policy, affecting not only world leaders but provincial towns such as Stratford as well. In this atmosphere of change, Shakespeare lived a dual life as both a renowned playwright and savvy businessman. Religious tensions in Stratford were evident, with events such as locals eliminating the stained windows of a church, a sign of Catholicism, and imposing fines for hosting actors. Yet, despite the latter, Shakespeare continued to gain recognition for his plays. He visited his family in Stratford around once a year, but not as a bard, rather, as an astute investor and wealthy individual. A notable instance from 1598 portrays Shakespeare's financial status. When Richard Quiney, a distinguished Stratford citizen, needed a £30 loan, he sought Shakespeare's assistance, referring to him as a loving good friend and countryman, in London. Although we don't know if Shakespeare granted the loan, there's sufficient evidence of his affluence before investing in the Globe Theatre. In 1597, he purchased a large and luxurious Stratford house, called New Place, for £120. He also bought 80 bushels of malt during a shortage, a risky move. The government attempted to force those possessing malt to sell it on the open market, but Shakespeare disregarded the order, provoking hostility among the town's impoverished. Braving the threat of hanging by furious townsfolk, Shakespeare eventually sold his malt at a substantial profit. This multifaceted perspective on Shakespeare's life allows us to appreciate his influence and legacy beyond the stage, as well as the turbulent times he lived in. Shakespeare's Globe, a turning point. By 1599, Shakespeare had garnered much acclaim as a powerful playwright with works that resonated with and entertained audiences, yet most were published anonymously. However, success arrived when Shakespeare became a brand that people sought out in bookstores, using his popular phrases as pick-up lines. The Globe Theatre played a pivotal role in hurdling his career as a dramatist, due to its exclusive shows of Shakespeare's riveting historical dramas like Henry V and Julius Caesar, as well as his talent for hand-picking skilled actors. As the competition responded to his pioneering efforts and emulated his methods, Shakespeare had earned unshakable artistic and financial security by the turn of the century. Though he slowed down, he penned a few more plays before his untimely death in 1616. By 1599, Shakespeare enjoyed respectable success as a playwright, but with most of his widely admired works published anonymously, he had yet to establish himself as a renowned brand. As the year came to a close, this changed dramatically. Shakespeare's poetic prowess proved so potent that even unauthorized collections mingled with lesser-known poets sold out in days, and people eagerly borrowed his lines as conversation starters. This growing demand for everything Shakespearean was fueled by the establishment of the Globe Theatre. Prior to its opening, all London theatres showcased the same set of plays. The Globe, however, set itself apart by exclusively featuring Shakespeare's gripping historical dramas such as Henry V, and topical plays like Julius Caesar. The unparalleled experience offered by the Globe waved the flag of Shakespeare's brilliance, with his unique skill at selecting talented actors to breathe life into his characters. Recognizing the transformative effect the Globe had on London's theatre scene, rival companies followed suit hoping to keep up. The Admiral's Men, for instance, commissioned the same architect responsible for the Globe to build their new playhouse. Upon completion, it too offered a unique lineup, evoking a sea change in how theatres functioned in London. By the time he turned 35, halfway through his life as described by poet Dante, Shakespeare had written more than 20 dramatic works, averaging an impressive 2 plays per year. Having fortified his artistic reputation and financial status over this transformative period, he allowed himself some reprieve. Between 1600 and the death of Queen Elizabeth in 1603, he only wrote 2 plays, Twelfth Night and Troilus and Cressida. Though Shakespeare lived for another 13 years, during which he penned King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra, he died at just 52 in 1616. His illustrious Elizabethan world soon faced turmoil as England descended into a vicious civil war. When the austere Puritans gained power, one of their first actions was to shut down all London theatres and dismantle the very foundation of the master playwright's brand, the Globe.
James Shapiro's A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare, 1599, offers an engaging and instructive insight into the life and times of the prolific playwright. As Shakespeare emerges as the finest dramatist of his generation, his work reflects the complexities of his world, from religious turmoil and political conflicts to the bustle of London's thriving theatre scene. At the heart of this period lies the establishment of the iconic Globe Theatre, a symbol of the writer's artistic and financial success. Against this historical backdrop, Shakespeare's plays and their themes resonate deeply, providing a unique and powerful commentary on the enduring relevance of art in turbulent times.